like 7 months ago when I posted my first ever game dev related video. It's this one, and basically I made my first ever game and also joined my first ever game jam, which is the Brackeys game jam. And I got 29th place, which, you know, out of 800 participants, like, it's not bad. But I'm what you call a chronic competitive perfectionist. So I don't know, I feel like it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Well, what do you know? What do we have here? The next Brackeys game jam is right around the corner. You know what that means. It's time to redeem myself. Also, once again, this video is sponsored by Brilliant. More on them later. Okay, so first things first. What's the theme? You know, since the theme of a jam is kind of the most important part, it's what makes it different from other jams. Kind of like how apricot jam is delicious, not too sour, just perfect, my favorite. Whereas marmalade is disgusting. I don't know how y'all eat that shit. And the theme is the calm before the storm. Alright, I'm into it. I'm liking it. I got some stuff brewing in my brain. Unlike the first Brackeys game jam where the theme was what's behind the door, and I was so stuck to the point where I was like contemplating what a door even was. But this time the ideas came a lot easier and I ended up with 2 different concept ideas. One is a cooking minigame where the prep is the calm part and then the serving the customers is the storm part. Since I feel like cooking can be kind of relaxing, but I feel like when you have to serve customers, it can get a little crazy. The second idea is a fishing minigame because when I think of calm, I think of like fishing in Minecraft or Stardew Valley. So maybe like you fish at the start and then the storm is like you have to fight a kraken that you accidentally reeled in or something. And then I thought, instead of deciding this by myself, why don't I just ask the competition? Since they're also technically the judges, because the way a game jam works is you submit your game and then you kind of have to like vote on the other games the other competitors have submitted. So yeah, it's kind of funny, but I think it's a great way to like make sure that people can't like cheat, because you can only vote if you submitted a game yourself. So I went in the Brackeys Discord server and I asked people which idea they liked better. And let's just say they were of no help, because all of them told me they liked both ideas and that I should actually just combine it. And to be honest, if this was me like from the first Brackeys game jam, I'd be like, oh, no thank you, no thank you. But I've grown, I've learned, I've matured. So I said, okay, I will combine those ideas then. Alright, so here's the gist. You are the owner of a sushi restaurant that you run out of a boat. In the morning, you have to go fishing to catch the fish that you're gonna sell in your sushi restaurant. So that's the first mini game. And then the second mini game is the actual sushi restaurant part, where you basically serve a bunch of little sushis to your customers. And you might think, oh, that's the storm. No. There's actually a third mini game where you end up fighting the kraken. So it's basically like there's a false storm in the middle where you think that like serving the sushi is a storm, but then surprise, there's an even bigger storm. You gotta fight a whole kraken. And each minigame has like a point system and it all gets tallied up in the end, and that is your score. So after deciding all of that, I knew it was time to make prototypes. And this was relatively easy. I just used the usual tactic of any Godot developer. Just use the Godot logo as placeholder assets. I feel like this is so iconic. I don't know, if you're a Godot developer, tell me if you do this too. Bada bing, bada boom. I finished the fishing prototype. Yeah. And the sushi prototype. And the kraken prototype. This is a tentacle. Can you tell? This took about like 2 days, so I had 5 more days to create all the assets and polish. First asset I wanted to tackle is the ocean, because that's where the setting is, that's the background, you know? And I really wanted it to look good, so I knew I had to do some shader research. And as usual, I went on godotshaders.com and found this really cool shader. It just adds a little wavy motion to any texture you want. So I added it on this repeating pixel ocean texture I made, and I think it looks pretty cool. And then I started focusing on the assets for the fishing minigame. First, I made the bobble, so this is like an indicator for where you're gonna reel or cast your line. Guys, I'm not a fisherman, I don't know anything. Then I made a simple fish silhouette so you know where all the fishies are, so you know where to click. And then I made the biggest asset yet, and also maybe my favorite asset in the game. and it's the boat. So I think this boat looks really cute. Plopped it into the scene and added this like bouncy, wavy motion to show that it's like floating on top of the ocean. And then I made the player character. Now, I was kind of inspired by Nami from One Piece because she has that like orange hair. And then I just really like this color green on her shirt, which I think also kind of reminds me of this like one bikini that Nami wears. Oh. And then I just made an idle animation that I can reuse throughout the game. And to see what everything looks like, I implemented that into the fishing minigame, and here's what it looks like. Oh, and I did this thing where I would instantiate a Line 2D node. Anytime you click on the screen between the player character and your mouse pointer. So it kind of looks like the fishing line. Alright, moving on to the second mini game. I first made the assets for the sushi making station, and I've never really done anything like this before. It's a little bit more detailed, and I actually had a lot of fun doing this. It was a little bit hard, but I'm really glad with how it turned out. And specifically for the mini game, if I had more time, I think I would have made the gameplay a little bit more interesting. But since I only had a week to make 3 mini games, I decided to just do the usual point and click type. Kind of like my previous game jam where I made this game called Welcome to Spice Brews. It was basically like a point and click cafe management game. But yeah, I ended up just doing something like that. And just to spice things up, I wanted it so that the customers are kind of like different each time. So I randomized the color scheme. And let me tell you, this was so annoying to do, which is so surprising to me because I thought it would be so easy. So I chose the colors I wanted using its hex code, but Godot uses RGBA, and so I had to convert every single color I wanted into RGBA using this website, and it took so long. And I don't know why, but it like got on my last nerve, and I was just like so over it at this point. And I'm pretty sure there's like an easier way to do it, but I don't know, I was just like, I just want to get it done, you know? But yeah, after that I just made like a little boat for all the customers to go on as they order, and this is what the game looks like. Alright, last but not least, the third mini game, which is the fighting a kraken one. This one was so much fun to draw. I was really happy with how the little kraken octopus fella turned out. I also made his tentacle, and because you have to shoot the tentacle, I also made a broken version. I also made the cannon, the cannonball, and the explosion. Implemented that into the game, and voila! This one was really fun to test. I actually found myself like play testing it by myself a lot. Also, I think it's really funny that in my first Brackeys game jam, I was barely able to make 1 mini game, and now I'm able to make 3. I really think I've gotten a lot better at game development in such a short period of time, in large part due to Brilliant, who is the sponsor of today's video. So Brilliant is a learning platform where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming, and AI. Each lesson is filled with hands-on problem solving that lets you play with concepts, which is a method proven to be 6 times more effective than watching lecture videos. Yeah. Brilliant helps build your critical thinking skills through problem solving, not memorizing. Which is really good because this girl has a very bad memory. So while you're building real knowledge on specific topics, you'll also be becoming a better thinker. And if you're an aspiring game developer like moi, I really recommend their programming courses. Brilliant's growing number of programming courses are a great way to build foundations and learn real-world applications. Get familiar with Python and start building programs on day 1 with a built-in drag-and-drop editor. And if you're planning on using Godot, I still recommend doing this because the language that Godot uses, GDScript, is similar enough with Python that the knowledge kind of crosses over. At least it did for me. But you'll also learn essential coding elements like for loops, nesting, conditionals, variables. And most importantly, it'll help you develop your mind to think like a programmer. So you can begin writing complex programs to make games or apps. So to try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/minimino or scan the QR code on screen. Or you can click on the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off if you get an annual premium subscription. Thank you again, Brilliant, for sponsoring this video. I really do believe that one of the reasons why I can code today is because at the start I had Brilliant really helping me, and it was so easy to learn with them, and yeah, I really recommend them. Okay, back to the video. At this point, the minigames were all done, so all I had to do was polishing. So this includes adding like a little quest thingy on the top to tell you what to do, and also the transition between each minigames. And I'm really happy with how I ended up doing this. Basically, the first minigame starts off above the ship, and then the second minigame is below the ship, and then the third minigame is above the ship again. So all I had to do was like pan up and down. That's what we call work smarter, not harder. And then I added the starting screen, super simple, super easy, and a little intro section to introduce you to the player character and also the premise of the game. And next I added one of the most important parts of a game, the sound. As usual, I got my sounds from Zapsplat. This includes the background noise, which is sounds of the ocean, which I think was the cherry on top. Oh, and the last thing I added was the end screen, which I'm just gonna be very honest, I really like how it turned out. I really like the portrait I did of the character. I've never done this angle before in pixel art. Usually all my pixel art characters are like straight on, but it turned out really cute and I'm so happy with it. And if you look, she's actually holding a sushi with a piece of the tentacle on top, kind of like a secret menu or something. And then I just made it so that the overall score would also show up at the end. And at this point, I was all done. All that was left to do was upload the game on itch.io and decorate the page, which honestly is so much easier to do if you make a lot of assets for the game, because then you can just like pick and choose whatever you think looks the cutest. So yeah, this is what it looks like. And if you want to play it, it's actually already out on my itch.io page. The link is going to be in my description. And yeah, I just had to wait for the results of the competition. I tried my best to vote for a lot of other people during this time, but like not enough to warrant my game being like the second most popular game throughout the whole voting period. It was very random. Like, popular doesn't always mean good, it just means that like a lot of people clicked on it and voted for it. But the votes could be bad or good, you know, you never know. Or I guess you will like end up knowing the results after the voting period. Speaking of results, before I show you guys the results of this current game jam, I want to remind you guys of my results from the previous Brackeys game jam. So to be honest, not too bad. Like for my first ever game, 29th overall, pretty good. Pretty cute to say. But like I said, it's my first ever game, so I expect to, you know, do better, right? Wrong. Yeah. I got 115th overall this time. And the funny thing is, objectively, this game is better than the other game I did. So I was flabbergasted. I was silenced. No, I was silenced. But then I took a closer look at the scores and I did get 427th place for theme, which, you know what? Maybe I did stretch out the theme a little bit more than I intended. Like, it wasn't so much the calm before the storm as it was the fishing before the cooking, before the kraken comes out. And also my fiance kept telling me like there's double the amount of submissions this year, so you know, in that context it's not too bad. But hey, what can you do? Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you had a good time, and thank you again, Brilliant, for sponsoring this video. And I just want to wish you all a great rest of your year. As 2024 comes to an end, I just really want to say thank you for all the support you've given me on this YouTube channel that I started in January. I know that at the start I was kind of looking for that niche, and I'm really glad that I found it in game development, and you guys have been so supportive and so amazing. And yeah, I have one more video coming for the end of the year, so I hope you stay tuned for that. Okay, bye!